An artist has the responsibility to use his critical powers to observe and reflect upon society, to cut through social issues in any society from an objective and dispassionate standpoint. To me, this is like walking a knife's edge. If you don't do it right, you fall, hurting yourself and others. It's really, really difficult to maintain this standpoint. You don't want to condemn, but you don't want to blindly eulogize either. I hope that Bostonians from all walks of life can relate to this painting. I think that society and art should be like breathing. One breathes in and the other breathes out, creating a kind of interconnectedness between them. In China, we often hear about the issue of campus violence in America. There are lots of reports about this subject. When I first conceived of this project about campus violence, I wanted to do something very provocative. I wanted to install a gun with the work, creating this kind of anxious relationship between the figures in the painting and the gun. I wanted there to be an ambiguity, as if to say, who actually pulled the trigger? Back then, I was thinking I would paint these 9 figures one by one, facing the audience, and then I would install the gun in front, facing the painting from the same vantage as the audience. I felt it would be a very direct way to bring the audience face to face with the anxiety that comes with violence. After learning of my project proposal and the idea to install the gun, the museum invited a group of students to discuss my project. After listening to their views about my proposal, it seemed to me that my idea had been conceived too much from an outsider's perspective, without considering the perspectives and stories of the teens themselves. I feared that the project might seem to dwell too much on obvious symbols instead of the realities of these students. Their discussion really impacted my thinking about the project. In their discussion of the issue of youth violence, these students brought such a diversity of backgrounds and ideas to the table. I felt that they were a bit uneasy with a foreign artist painting this theme, thinking maybe that Chinese people only hear the bad things about them. I didn't want to make an insensitive piece of art that would be harmful to the subjects themselves. So I proposed to do something a little more democratic. I said, why don't I paint you, not as the perpetrators of violence, and not as the victims of violence either. Rather, I will paint you simply as yourselves. And you will have the responsibility for making your own statements by writing your thoughts about youth violence on my painting. When the students heard about this idea, they became especially enthusiastic about participating. I think teenagers have a particularly sharp eye for the world. Their ideas are already on the right track. Growing older is merely a process of refining those ideas. But at that age, they already know the basic truth of the world. That's why I love to paint kids of that age, because I feel their judgment about the world, about life, about friends, it's sharp as a knife. They almost never get it wrong. Of course, we are all human, and I have been at the stage where these teenagers are at right now. So I have something of an idea of what's going on in their minds, so painting them isn't a huge obstacle. When it comes to painting them, of course, I don't know all the specifics of their families and day-to-day lives, and I don't think I need to know those things. I try to focus on what I can see, colors and shapes, and how those can express what's going on mentally and emotionally. I work very hard on that. I feel like as soon as I got those two into the composition, it all settled down. They knew exactly what to do. They just stood there and leaned back, and then I felt that was it. Their body language said it all. They just leaned back and I said, right on. Using these two as my basis, I was able to lay out the other kids, step back and take a look, make small adjustments, all because these two had set the tone and brought composure to the painting. This one here, he's watching and waiting, but there's a sense of loneliness in that. At the time, I asked them to write their names down right next to my sketches. I was trying to read their personalities from their handwriting. The way they wrote, whether it was strong or weak, it's kind of an outlet for the personality. Maybe this one's more introverted, or that one more extroverted. I was able to tell. So I arranged where the statements would go, with the finer, more careful writing, the introverted ones, written at the bottom. And the further up and out you go from there, the bolder the writing becomes. And in the end, it takes the shape of an explosion. So according to their handwriting, I arranged where they would write on the painting. This person writing on this part, and that person on that. This one writing more forcefully, and that one more gently. This writing in a wild hand, and that writing very carefully. I had a basic plan for all of this. I wanted their statements to be pointed, rather personal. I don't want them to hold back. Because I think this painting, and especially their opinions and statements, may be able to reflect the feelings of a lot of people. Growing up in such a peaceful time, when the civic environment appears so wonderful, and there are flowers and parks everywhere, and the campus is beautiful, but still there is this violence. It's unavoidable, and these horrible things still take place. So I want them to write down their thoughts based on their personal experiences, concise and clear. That age, around 17, 18, 19 years old, it is a crucial time for forming your worldview. That period will have a great impact on you for the rest of your life. How you feel about the world at that age, what the world has given you, how it has injured you. These are things that you never forget.